ESJ lol. We're starting the stream off with a coaching session, guys. Let's go ahead and get that going. Go ahead and call this guy up.
Hey.
Hello. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot.
Nice. So, just ready to get your ass roasted?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Born
yeah.
ready.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's the spirit. So, what's the deal here, man? I know your friend bought you this session, but, what are we going for here?
I don't know. I'm just trying to get better. I was trying to get better. I was talking to him about it a bunch, and then he surprised me with this. So,
Nice. So, what's your MMR?
4,400 right now.
Okay. And what role do you play? Hello?
Offlane.
Oh, offlane. Okay, you timed out a little bit there. Okay. So do you have a couple replays in mind of?
Yes, I do.
Nice. So do you feel like there's anything in particular you need to get better at, like preemptively, or just want me to watch the games and do my thing?
Just watch the games and do your thing.
Cool. We will do that then. So once you give me those, I'll screen share you on Discord. Feel free to have the stream up if you want as well, like muted. The Discord screen share is like not always the best quality, but it gives you live feed of what I'm doing. So streams on like a 4-second delay probably. So it's kind of up to you on what you prefer. I'll screen share regardless, but I know the screen share is not always the best. So
Okay.
here's Dota for you. I'm assuming you see it.
Yep.
And which one's you here?
The Sand King.
The Sand King. Okay.
Yeah.
So every session I go into, I preemptively say anything I can say based on your position as well as your MMR. So since you are an offlaner at 4K, what I usually see around this bracket for offlaners is your laning stage mechanics are pretty trash. And overall in the mid game, your team fight spell usage is usually pretty good, but like your understanding of where to be on the map and stuff is pretty bad. So like that's generally what we're gonna look to work on and what we'll focus on. If you miss any spells or something, I'm not gonna call that out or anything like that. So sorry, I just pulled up a drink there. Really needed a nice little drink of water. So
All right.
Let's pull this up. You are Sand King, direct the camera. Let's go. So you have a sentry. That's for the sandstorm. So same thing as safe lane, right? You think about what can go wrong in your lane, and that's exactly what you did here. So that's good. I like your items. I'd say against. Yeah, I think this is fine. You probably had to buy your own sentry, so you would normally want a salve, but you don't have gold, so that's fine. I'd prefer the sentry over a salve.
30 seconds to
battle. Fast forward.
The battle
You're against Troll Undying, or Phoenix, I guess. Yeah, Troll Phoenix. Pretty scary lane either way. I'd say the Undying would be really scary, but.
Yeah, I was way more afraid of Undying being that lane.
So you preemptively leveled your Burrow Strike. I think. Did you check Phoenix's items?
No.
When you did this? So I think overall, like, this is a big mistake simply because you don't really have kill threat with Silencer. And I think leveling kill abilities is only good if they also like help you secure CS. Like a hero like Sven, it's good to level his stun because if somebody comes up to contest the creep, you can stun them and like get 125 damage stun CS trade. So like if I know Sandstorm's only 20 damage now, level 1, but if they have no sentry and you're able to like use it to full duration, I feel like it's just a strictly better ability until you have level 2. So like maybe you could go caustic. I just feel like if it's not even that I don't think Burrow Strike's the correct ability to level. I just think you shouldn't level yet because they're, you know what I'm saying, by all the possibilities that could be happening. These are the kind of plays you make where 10%, 20% of the time you're just going to miss some opportunity, and we want to eliminate these as often as possible. So like There's certain heroes that's just better to wait, and that's really important that you think about that. And my Dota just froze. What the fuck? My Dota just...
Yeah.
I actually have not had that happen that way. I can't remember the last time that happened. Oh, well. Loading it back up. That was weird.
I can't remember if I leveled up the stun, so I was gonna try to get the rune or not. I don't remember. But even then, I still shouldn't have because it's Phoenix Troll.
It's just one of those where, like, if you're gonna level the stun for the rune, literally have no skill point, and then if they contest you at the rune and you have to burrow, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold it till the very last moment. These are little things that... It's just the mindset of, like, don't be content doing that. Because, like, sometimes I get lazy and do it too. But it's just something you want to try to avoid.
Like you said, there's literally no reason to do it until you absolutely need it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't notice much creep aggro usage. How often would you say you use creep aggro?
Greatly depends on the hero.
Okay.
But
so, like, this
Sand
is
King,
just a... Go ahead.
Yeah. It was... I don't know. I should do it definitely because I don't have Sandstorm. But if I had Sandstorm, you don't have to worry about it.
Well, no, the thing is, like, when you're against ranged heroes, if you're a melee hero, why can creep aggro, like, dragging this creep to here, why can that benefit you? Like, what... Are you still seeing this Dota or no?
Yeah, no, not on there.
Okay.
I'm watching on the screen right now.
Okay, yeah, I forgot it, like, closes when Dota closes. I pulled it back up if you want to watch it there either way.
Okay.
Like, why would dragon creep here benefit you against ranged heroes?
They can't hit me as much.
Also, like, if they want to deny, it drags them to go to, like, right here instead of right here. Or, sorry, instead of right here. Like, they're sitting right here to deny it because the creep's, like, right here. So that sets up situations where your silencer can curse them, and then you burrow strike him in the middle of these 3 creeps, and then he's taking, you know, an extra 50 to 100 damage, so you're forcing them out of position. So, like, it's just an idea that, like, having the creep here is just strictly worse than having it here. If you see that. So, something just to consider these things with creep aggro. Like, I just know somebody could do better at creep aggro when, like, both of those creeps probably should have been aggroed, those last 2. Not because you didn't get the CS, but just because you're making it more difficult for the other guy to get it. Like, same thing with this one. Also, little thing. If you drag this creep back, right here, it'll, like, pull it so that your creep wave stops a little bit further back. If this creep's like full health, it's even better because your creeps will take longer to kill it, but it'll make the wave just be slightly closer to you, and that's a little thing as well that's worth considering with creep aggro. Little lane mechanics to think about, like dragging the last creep of their wave towards your own can reset the lane equilibrium in a different way, which is really nice, something I see very few like 4K players do. Let's see. Pretty much every creep that's melee that you're, like, getting denied is... Like, I'd prefer you creep aggro, and then if it still gets denied, okay. You know? Do everything you can to prevent it from getting denied. Okay, so now we're... Okay. So, the big issue that happens is, have you seen any opportunities to use your Burrow Strike?
None.
Why do you think that is, from what I've already said to you?
Because of the creep aggro.
Yeah, because you're not creep aggroing.
They're not out of position.
It's actually because you're not forcing them to do anything. And this is what your job as an offlaner is to do, is to pretty much be disruptive. And really good offlaners just fuck up the lane equilibrium so much. Like, not necessarily saying that they make it go to their tower or anything when I say equilibrium. I just mean creeps are all over the place. People are getting dragged. Like, watch me play against Moon Meander or something. It's just like it's literally the creeps are flying all over the place because both of us are creep aggroing 5 times, and these are, like, creating unforced errors. Or, sorry, they're creating forced errors, I guess you would say. Like, the idea is that if you're doing this stuff, as a safe laner, think to yourself what they want. They want just a static, chill, hit creeps. That's what they want. So we need to prevent that from happening. And so creep aggro is our main way of doing it. If we're in a really rough lane, we can just start cutting creeps over here. You know, like, there's a bunch of ways to disrupt it, but, like, in a normal lane like this, creep aggro is really the main way to do it. And so that's just like a point that I'm making where it's like they're never out of position because you're not forcing them out of position or even forcing them to think about their positioning. That's a major thing, is like if they're stuck thinking about positioning, I guarantee you that troll's going to miss like 2 or 3 CS that he wouldn't have otherwise missed, and he's going to step out of position at least once or twice, and then you're going to burrow strike him. Like, this is a burrow strike right here. 100%. Why? Why was that a burrow strike?
Was he silenced?
Why is this a burrow strike?
What do you bonus damage? Just damage on the hero. But can you just dive away?
Okay, so you have a Crystal Maiden aura, and
Yeah, true.
you
It's
have
a
full
very good
mana.
point. Yeah.
So
There's literally no reason not to.
but what's one concern you might have if you Burrow Strike on top of them?
I don't know.
That they just turn around and hit you? Isn't that
Yeah,
something? Okay,
but-
so isn't it not just about ability usage, but also what happens after the ability usage?
Yeah.
So based on creeps right now, if they turn around and attack you, what's going to happen to them?
Based on the creeps are going to attack them.
Yeah, how many creeps of theirs are going to attack you?
Well, there's none there right in this second.
Yeah, there's none there.
Yeah.
Right this second. So fucking Burrow
Yeah.
Strike the guy, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's what I'm
makes
saying.
sense.
Like, this is opportunities. Like, literally my last coaching session that I did live, I talked to the guy about every time you have more creeps than them, you have to think about being aggressive. Every time. Because creeps benefit you on trading. It's not saying that you have to be aggressive every time, but it has to cross your mind that if
Yeah.
there's an opening to be aggressive. This is where if like it's the last creep on the wave, meaning it's their last creep, what should you be thinking as that creep's dying?
Go on, do damage.
Yeah, so like if this creep is dying and it's the last creep on the wave and a ranged hero walks up to deny the creep, what's your approach?
You should Burrow Strike him.
You
right?
should Burrow Strike the creep to kill it
Yeah.
and hit the guy with the
yeah,
Burrow
okay.
Strike, right? Like, because then he's
Yep.
going to eat like 4 creeps. Like, a lot of people that, like, even the rank like 600 players I'm playing against, when the last creep on the wave's dying, they just like let me deny it. I'm like, oh, thanks for letting me deny it. But when I'm playing against like a good laner, I know for a fact I'm not allowed to go for that deny because I'm going to get like stunned and take 400 damage and I can't trade because I'm eating
Yeah.
5 creeps, right? So looking for these opportunities where they can't trade with you is super important as a laner. And it's always based on the creeps. And that's why I talk about creep aggro in terms of changing the position. That's why I talk about lane equilibrium in terms of how many creeps there are. Because it's all about how many creeps there are and like where they are to be like setting up your own aggression. So not a huge fan of this. Not the double bracer part, but the fact that it's all at base. So you either fly these items to you or you don't buy them yet. That's the two choices. These items go on the courier when you have the courier being delivered to you, or you buy boots even. Like, buy a stick. Buy something that's making you stronger right now.
Right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind I'm not saying the items are wrong. I'm saying the fact that you have these items that aren't being done anything is wrong. When you see this, what should you do right now in relevance to this range creep?
Well, I can do creep aggro, can I?
To do what?
I can deny it.
Yeah, you can creep aggro this creep off of it? Yeah, something to consider, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just something you should think about. Every time the melee creeps separate onto range creeps, you can always kill theirs, back off, and aggro them, pull this creep off, and then deny it. Something to consider. These little denies add up a lot in your bracket, because the other people will not do these things.
Denied.
The silencer was good. Later on, he starts pulling.
Yeah, that wave should have been pulled for sure.
Yeah, he does it later.
But notice how this time you Burrow Striked in. What was the concern we had? That they were able to just hit us. And guess what?
Yeah.
That's why that was a bad Burrow Strike, because they were able to just hit us. But on the other one, where I told you, it wouldn't have been bad. When you're shrining like this, your support's just getting levels. No reason to not drag these creeps over. Sandstorm, hit them, Burrow Strike them while you're getting... You had full mana, but no health.
Yeah.
Be efficient, right? You have full mana...
Yep.
No health. So use all of your mana while you're regenerating your health, right? Something to think about when you're shrining. If you have full mana, or sorry, full health, no mana, then be willing to tank some creeps in a creep camp before you shrine, and then, you know what I'm saying? Get that extra camp in. A little bit of efficiency during shrine usage is pretty important. Especially when it's like the Satyr camp, right? If it was golems, I'd probably say, never mind, that's just unlucky. But like,
Yeah, those are like
the Satyr ones are like super efficient, super easy to
Yeah.
kill.
Missing bottom. That's not for the likes
So what I don't like about you doing what you just did there is, where do we want this lane ideally?
for the likes of you.
Yeah, I want it back.
Right? So what should you do here instead of this?
I should just tank the creeps and wait for the next wave to come.
Yeah, you should tank the creeps right outside of your tower range, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. And the only reason you wouldn't do that is because you're concerned about them pressuring with the catapult, right? Like, that's the only thing that can go wrong if you do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
like
they weren't really in the position to
always consider what can go wrong with any decision you make, right?
Yep.
So like if
Yep.
I leave these creeps alive with the catapult, the only thing I'm concerned about is that they can dive me under my tower. But that's like you just said, they're not in a position to do that, right? Like they're not able to do that to you. So that's not an issue. Every time you like almost every play in Dota has some backfiring potential but only sometimes is that applied.
Missing bottom. That's not for the likes.
So I definitely would have just kept the wave here. It ends up kind of staying here, but I would have even preferred it farther back. All right.
Yeah.
Why accept it here when it could be right next to your tower?
Yeah, then they'd have to be even further out of position to try to even do anything to the lane.
Radiant structures.
Yeah, I was like gonna mention it, but like, okay. This is how you think ahead. If the lane's right here, what are they almost always gonna do?
Yeah, pull.
If they don't pull, what's that mean for you?
It's it's gonna be in the same position again.
It's
but,
just
like, a little bit further. Yeah.
It's just good for us, right?
Yeah.
So like whenever I have the lane where I want it to be, as a carry, as an offlaner, as a mid laner, I literally ask myself, what can the enemy do to change this? Because if I want it this way, clearly they don't, right? Like that's just how it works. So like this took you an extra like 2 or 3 seconds to process that they were pulling. I was thinking the second you kill this wave, you walk over and check the pull. That's like what I'm thinking. Because there's no other play for them that's good, right? So like if you walk over there and check the pull and they aren't pulling, you're like, no, okay. Like
yeah, you just go back to lane.
Yeah, you just go back to doing what you're doing. And this is something you can do a lot, right? Like meaning if you think this is what they'll do, like if I'm a safe lane carry and I think if they wanted to, they could pull the big camp and that'd be good for them. The minute I can, I'll like walk over and check the big camp. And like sometimes people ask me, BSJ, why are you randomly cutting trees? I'll cut trees like this one and this one. Why would I cut these trees?
So it's easier to get there.
It helps me see things. Like this brings my sight from here to see here. Because I cut this tree, and if I cut this tree, I can see the big camp from here instead of here. Like it makes my positioning to see what I want to see better. But it's all because I have an intention of doing something. It's like you don't need to know to cut that tree. It's like I need to know that I want to see that camp, and then I can think about how I can see it. Right? Like it's people overcomplicate things. Like they see me cutting the tree, and they'll be like, "Why is he doing that?" Instead, it's like it's the pull camp he's worried about, or like I'm telling people so many things you can worry about in the laning stage. Now figure out ways in your own creativity that can make it so you minimize your out of position part of it, or that you minimize the chance of it going wrong, that kind of stuff. Sorry, my friends keep inviting me to play chess, and I told them I'd play earlier today, but you're holding me back. No, I'm kidding. It's not your fault. I'm totally kidding. So that was a good kill either way. You did process that they were pulling and like you contested it. This is a fine. Why is this fine as opposed to earlier?
Because they pulled, right? Wait, hold on, wait.
This part where you're cutting the creeps and not letting it go to your tower. Why is this okay?
I don't know.
Because the difference between this spot and this spot is just that this is better for lane equilibrium. The difference between this spot and this spot is he can't walk to the camp over here. Because you're here.
Okay, yeah.
So you're actually accomplishing something by standing here. Because if Troll starts walking to the silencer, what are you immediately doing?
I'm gonna go on him.
You're gonna walk at him too, right? So this is important because if you're back here, you're immediately taking a hero that's higher level with more items and showing weakness, right? Like that's what you're doing. So earlier you weren't quite strong enough. The lane, it didn't make a difference between here and here in regards to this. But that's the thing is every spot in the lane, like the lane equilibrium, has significance. It really does. And like I hope you're seeing it when I give you these like in-depth explanations of like what having the lane in certain places accomplishes. Burrow strike him earlier. Like see how you had a ton of creeps there? If you burrow strike him, he's fucked. Like he just has to run. Even if it doesn't result in a kill, he's not manning up on you against 6 creeps, right?
Yeah.
And you're like higher level and everything. Obviously you get the kill, but it was just a little bit late. Like it was closer than it had to be. You might not have even needed epicenter.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Unfortunate, but that's life.
Yep.
So in this type of situation, I look at this game and say, I look at my lanes, let me change my hotkey. Mid's even. Off lane or safe lane's a little rough, but Jug is okay against Pango. I don't know if you know that matchup, but like Jug's not gonna die to Pango if he's not a potato.
Yep.
Like at this stage, meaning like if certain carries are behind a Pango, they'll just kind of feed. Like if I'm a level 5 Drow and Pango's level 6, I'm just gonna die over and over again. But like every time Pango has ult, but like as Jug, I'm not gonna die here if I'm not a potato. So, I think to myself, I don't need to help my SF currently, and my Jug's gonna do his own thing. So in this case, what's the best thing I can actually do for SF and Jug? What do those heroes, since Jug's having a rougher start and SF's kind of squishy, what are those heroes not able to do on the map?
Put pressure.
Be up in their
Right
faces.
now? Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
pressure, but like in the version of being up in their faces. So like, what item might come to mind that I'm mentioning?
Crimson.
Yeah, Crimson, Pipe, or like Hood, or like just some item. Vlad's like some item in this patch. I'd say Vlad's probably, just because Vlad's is just so good that allows me to. Like, Crimson would have been fine too. I'd be perfectly fine with Crimson, but like, or even a Vanguard into a Blink, back into a Crimson. Like, that's fine too. But an item that just allows me to play up in their face, because who am I making plays with? My Silencer Crystal Maiden? Like, my SK or my Jug's not strong enough to apply pressure, and my SF doesn't want to just show in lanes, right? He doesn't want to do that. He's going to like push in waves with double rays and then back off. So I need to be a hero that shows myself in a lane and is a wall. That's what I need to represent for my team. And so when it comes to itemization, like certain heroes will do this job better than others, meaning like, yeah, SK, like you'd probably think of more Underlord type heroes for this, or a Sven, but like SK can do this, right? He's pretty survivable. He's got mobility. He's got invis. You know, he's got wave clear. So why not just sit in front of their face over and over again, you know? So that's how I think about this game. Last thing I'm doing is responding to this crap down here, I think. You know what? You know what? I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this because you saw them diving while you're at base. Okay. So what I would not do is stay here. Okay, get out of here. Nice. Nice. Good. Good. That was fine. That was fine.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I wanted to kill this guy, I think.
So based on what I said, what's your status quo? What's like, if nothing's going on in the game, what are you doing?
I should just be eating up a lane, right?
Yes, and that lane should be what?
What, the safe lane? Well, hold on, what?
Their safe lane, your safe lane.
Right? Well, I should just be where I was originally.
Exactly. So I want you to know that when I say this kind of stuff, like that call you made to go bottom and stun there, I'm not even going to say like whether I like it or not, because that's a judgment call every game, okay?
Yeah.
You're allowed to make those plays. You're allowed to go mid and make those plays. But always be aware of what your job in the game is and have a sense of urgency to return to it if you have to. Meaning, like, right now, there's nothing else you're allowed to do other than run to that top lane based on the lane equilibrium, right?
Yep.
And know that every time you're not top, you're sacrificing something. So as long as that sacrifice is worth it, it's okay, right?
Yep.
So that's just how you have to think, though, right? You're allowed to make other plays. You're allowed to go to other places on the map. But it's a sacrifice you're consciously making that has to pay off. And that's the main emphasis as somebody that's like a do shit hero, right? You don't want to feel glued to your lane because I'm telling you that.
Yeah.
But you need to know it is a big deal if you ever relieve pressure top. Like, meaning that if the troll is getting pressured and you end up leaving, you are giving him space. So don't do it lightly. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're going back to top.
Is under attack.
Let's see what you do now.
Should I not be pushing the lane there?
No, so what should be happening is you should have a Vanguard, and then you go on this troll and he can't do shit to you, right?
Okay.
Like, that's, like, okay. So the reason why I emphasize, like, a Vanguard or a Vlad's here is because, okay, the way I vision this is several things. This is a little bit different every game, right? But I think to myself, as whatever hero I'm playing, against whatever hero I'm going to be playing against, and what I mean by against whatever hero, that doesn't necessarily mean the safe laner. Like, what hero on their team is likely going to occupy this lane? It could be Pango if, like, they were better players. Like, and Troll could be bottom, right? Like, that's honestly better for them. But if I want to pressure and I know that's my job and I know I can do it because I'm like a survivable hero in this game, like what mid-tier item is best in that given game to allow me to play up in that guy's face? And if it's Troll constantly defending his lane, I would say Vlad's or Vanguard both work because he primarily relies on right clicks. You will have a bit of sustain issues if you're trying to bully him. And both of those are obviously good against right clicks, and obviously they're both good for sustain.
Yep.
So I would even say Vanguard's probably a bit better because you have Crystal Maiden Aura, so you don't actually need any lifesteal. Mana regen.
Yeah.
But like this is a spot where I don't actually think you can necessarily bully this troll out of lane with just a blink, unless you're killing him, right? Like that's the idea, is like if you don't have this item that spurs you forward in terms of your momentum of being able to bully, then you say, like, what am I supposed to do here? I'm like, I think you should just be walking down this lane, and if this guy shows up, he gets burrow striked and hit, you know? Like, that's what should be happening. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because by pressuring, not only are you making it so this guy can't farm this wave, but if they want to defend this tower, they have to send somebody there and potentially more heroes to try to stop you. And suddenly they're getting punished for this. But meanwhile, while all this shit's going on bottom, their troll is still farming because you built a different item, right?
I think I'd kill him here. Pretty
I
sure
mean, I'd be surprised if he manages to die, but I'm not... I guess he's forced to attack creeps in the...
Yep. Yeah. I got
So
the
this is
blink,
a-
I wanted to apply pressure.
Okay, so
Like
I it's like, this is one of those things where it's like, your blink is only good if that works.
Yep.
Vanguard's good, or Vlad's is good every single time because you can
Every
bully him out
single
of lane.
time.
And so that's why it's like, what I do like is you built the blink and then did something with it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you at least had an intention, like, and that's important. But I want you to think differently about, like, calculated plays of, like, when do you think a blink is more important than a Vanguard in these types of situations?
Well, and depends on the heroes you're against.
But, like, it basically is in a situation where one of the enemy heroes needs to fucking die. Like, they actually need to die or you're losing the game. You know what I'm saying? And, like, that's when you have to go for blink. Like, when you see these pro players go, like, first or second item blink, it's because they need one, right? Like, they have to. Because, like, if you buy a Vanguard, what were you doing in the laning stage? You were just pressuring, right?
Yep.
And so after the laning stage dissipates, when you're thinking about this first item, it literally needs to be, is my job changing? When is it changing? Because Vanguard resumes your job, meaning like you're just still doing the same thing, while Blink says, I'm changing my job, right? I'm no longer shoving this lane in continuously. I am doing stuff around the map. And based on understanding of dead lane concept, if I'm not shoving in the top lane, what needs to be happening?
Someone else needs to do it.
Somebody else needs to do it.
Yeah.
So who on your team's going to do it?
Nobody.
Okay.
There's nobody on my team.
Cool.
Well, I guess SF.
But SF's
not
really not
really.
going to do it, though. Like,
Yeah.
he's just not a hero. He's a hero that plays... He's like Medusa and... like a lot of mid heroes that where their farming patterns are like jungle and mid. Like they shove mid, farm jungle, shove mid, farm jungle. You know what I mean? That's what those heroes do. So, that's what I mean by, like, if you're not going to do it anymore, you know it's something important in the game. So if you can visualize somebody who's going to do it for you, sure, build an item that means you're doing something else. Maybe that item means you're occupying the dangerous area and you're defending. Like if you have a Terrorblade who's almost always going to go here, then if you're, you know, an Underlord or an SK, you can make your entire purpose to defend this tower as long as possible and building what other items you think you need to do that. But all these things coming together are you understanding what it means in each lane, what your role is in that, and then, like, based on this game, I literally told you, like, wouldn't it just be far better if you were shoving this lane into their tower and their trolls begging for help because they're losing damage on their tier 2, or their trolls sitting under their tower, like, you know, right-clicking creeps from here in range, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff, like, doesn't feel good for him, even though he's dead right now, you know what I mean? Like, and then this is kind of stuff that's just somebody else not doing their job. Like, this looks bad because your SF got solo killed, and
that's
this just happens.
I gotta go mid.
This shouldn't happen, and you should stick to doing your job here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because this isn't your job to fix, and you already used Epicenter and all that, right? And if you didn't have a blink, you wouldn't be able to kill this guy potentially anyways. So this is the kind of stuff that you have to recognize situations where it's not your job to make up for your teammates failing. Like I told you, it's SF's job to push in mid and farm, right? So guess what happens when he feeds? you're going to lose momentum mid. Sometimes that leads to just the wave being at your tower. Sometimes it's against like a snowballing hero in 4K where he's just going to right-click your tower for free. But meanwhile, you should be doing this, right?
So just stick to my job.
Yeah, stick to your job.
Jobs too.
Enable yourself to carry the game. And you get this kill.
But
Like, honestly, why do you get that kill?
because the Invoker's way out of position.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Way out of position.
Yeah. So, what I would do in these situations in your bracket was I would take care of my job first, and if that Invoker's still out of position, I would start to head towards mid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'd kill this wave and then walk this way, and if he proves himself to be in better position by that time, I would like go from here and then resume back to top. And then if not, I would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd give myself that option. Like, I'd put myself in a spot where it's like, if he's out of position still, I'm coming behind him. If he's not, though, I'm just going to go back to my wave, right? That's how a lot of players do that kind of stuff. It just gives you that ability to stick to your job. You quickly, so I think your job is still top, but based on your itemization, I believe your job is not top. So, like, what you're doing is okay, but look at what you're stuck doing rather than just continuously shoving a wave and creating pressure. Like, this is just, it just doesn't look clean, and you don't gain anything from killing that guy.
Yep.
And that guy,
he's doing his job.
Yeah, he's just doing his job, and all that did was what he's doing here, forcing 4 people to gank him. Why isn't that you?
I should be doing that at the top.
Yeah, why isn't that you? Exactly, right? And like in a game where you have nobody that can occupy Pangalier's lane safely, maybe that's important, and that's a situation where he might just have to die. Like in a game where you're against a Beastmaster, and if nobody goes to that lane, he's going to take your tier 2, and nobody on your team can take that tier 2. Or sorry, nobody in your team can take that lane. So suddenly you're just going to lose your tier 2. That's a game where you consider getting like a blink. That guy has to die, right? But like in this game, right, you just have a Jug. He's not going to die to Pango if he's not an idiot, right? So like if he continues to feed to Pango, like there's nothing you can do about that, right? Like he's just that's just life. So ganking with no detection was a bit scary. I guess you had a sentry on your support, but so we resume our back to top. Like I feel like if you know your job's top and you just stay top all game and then leave top with a smoke, all these things will just be so much simpler to you. Like these things are working, but there doesn't really seem to be like rhyme or reason to why they're working, and that's what we're trying to.
That's just my bracket, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And so if we can establish like rules for ourselves and like how we operate in the game, I think it's really important that you just start doing that. And I'd rather you start off by prioritizing pushing whatever lanes you think you're supposed to push and playing whatever part of the map you're supposed to and under rotating, and then learning in the future when you should have rotated. Meaning like you play your lane and you're like, oh, I could have, like, I was pushing this tower, but I did like 200 damage and I could have been at that fight instead, and that would have been better than pushing this tower. You know what I'm saying? And then like in the future you'll learn from that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like I think like in your bracket, especially as offlaners, you guys are way too active in general, like on average. So like if we can get you going way too inactive, meaning when I say inactive, right, you're pressuring, you're just like not rotating.
Just not rotating as much,
yeah. If we can get you to the point where you're rotating too little and then learn to rotate based off of that, I think it's the best way. Like as a carry, I say like, you know, if you're not sure how aggressive you can be with your farming patterns, be aggressive and you'll die. You know, if you're overly aggressive, and you can learn your limits that way. With you, it's like people just stay out. Like look at all this sloppiness. They're just, you're playing your own dead lane constantly. None of these. Where do we want fights to occur?
Closer to our towers, so people can.
Okay. Think about it this way. So it's your job to pressure, right?
Yep.
So if you're at a fight, where's it gonna be? If now that we have that mindset of your job is to pressure top continuously,
well, it's gonna be deep in like their side of the map.
It's gonna be on their side of the map or right underneath your towers where you can TP to.
Yeah.
That's like the only 2 reasonable locations. So where's the last place you should ever be taking an engagement?
In between those 2 places?
Like non-smoked out here.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit that criteria. Like my criteria fits this entire half of the map and this entire area. Like, and that's what you got to just work with in terms of considering your fights. If you eliminate potential places you're willing to fight, it makes your decision making so much easier. What objectives are your team worried about getting right now?
We're
Potentially.
worried about getting
Potentially.
Well, I wanted to get the bot tower. I don't know
Okay,
if
so
I
let's
correct
act
or
like
not.
we understand Dota. What are your objectives that you're potentially getting at this current moment?
Potentially getting probably top because they're all
Okay.
bot.
What else?
Mid? No, not mid. Mid's
Potentially mid, yes. You're allowed to play 2 lanes. That's the dead lane
Okay.
idea. You're allowed to play 2 lanes. So what 2 lanes towers are we considering?
Mid and top.
Okay, and then what other objective naturally occurs if we're going for those 2?
Roche.
Okay, so like those are our 3 objectives. What is the other team's potential objectives?
The bot, the exact opposite.
Okay.
And not Roche.
And not Roche.
They're not
And they would be
right?
so for you, if you're considering stopping them from making a play, where are you going?
I will down bottom.
Right, because that's where their plays are being made. If they're stopping you from making a play, where should they be concerned about? All the things that we said are your objectives, right?
Yep.
So every time you're in a game, you're thinking, am I counterplaying them or am I making a play happen? And what, like, so if you know the 2 places you're willing to fight, and then you answer the question of am I counterplaying them or not, isn't it super fucking obvious where you're fighting? Like,
Yeah.
if you're supposed to counterplay them, it's going to be bottom. If they're counterplaying you or like you're applying pressure, it's going to be top, right?
Okay,
So the last thing like you should ever be doing is fighting over here, right? Just randomly. Because you should only go here if you have to. And like, so now you have a jug that's like occupying this lane. I think you can take this lane. I told you you're allowed to play mid and top. Like, if somebody else is taking top, push in mid. Like, this lane should never look like this. These guys are telegraphing their play. They've been walking down this lane ever since they got to here, right? And these are the spots where this lane should be pushed, this lane should be pushed, and then our choices are to apply pressure here and here, or to fight them. That's the 2 choices we got. And like, Dota's way simpler when you have 2 choices. Like,
Yeah.
we're either fighting them or applying pressure. And that's like the something I emphasize to every role is if they group up, those are your 2 choices, to apply pressure or to fight them. If you are so far behind that you can't do either, you probably should just fight them and hope for the best. Like, because like you're probably just gonna lose if you give them free objectives. Like, you're probably just gonna lose. So okay. Any questions about what I've just said?
Nope.
Okay, fast
It
forward.
makes sense.
Cool. Fast forwarding. And like, since you're the fight starter, you're gonna be the one that dictates excuse me, where fights occur. So by you playing on the wrong side of the map, you're actually screwing up your entire team. Because guess what? If you're constantly playing top, guess where your teammates are going to try to go to make plays around? Top. But since you were bottom, they're all sitting bottom, and now you leave to go defend a tower that needs to be defended, and now your teammates are feeding because the guy that's supposed to be fighting is not with them. See these trends? It all started with you on the wrong part of the map. Every fight that feels super awkward, guess what? I assure you, from my own experience, it's because you're on the wrong side of the map. Stop going. Top. Bounty runes. Top. Bounty. Top. You see what I'm saying? Like, this lack of what's the word I'm looking for? Perseverance, I guess. Like, just the willingness to continuously go top. Like, being adamant about doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Happens a lot. Like, losing track of, like, what's important in these games. And if they're bottom, your 2 choices are to fight them or to apply pressure. Remember that? So, like, if you're not bottom fighting them, you better be applying pressure, right?
So I shouldn't have left her there.
Yeah, you should still. Look at this.
Yeah.
They'll survive. You have Blink, Yule's pipe. How the fuck are they killing you? Be at their tier 2, right? Be in their faces. Like, force a TP and then blink away, TP here and smoke and go right back top and kill them. You know what I mean? Like, make like these fast decisions. But like, if you're not applying pressure, those decisions are never easy. Like, they're just never easy because the opportunities aren't there. Just like if you're not using creep aggro, the guy's never going to be out of position in lane, right? So if you're not applying pressure and forcing them to react, you're not going to know what they're doing, and then you're not going to be able to counterplay what they're doing. Yeah. Because you don't know what they're doing.
Much obliged.
So this is an okay area to be fighting. I think from what we understand, you know why. I'm not saying the fight's like necessarily going to be going well, but this is like an okay place to be fighting. But what I mean by this is, if this place is getting pushed in, it's one thing. The problem here is, how do I explain this in the best way possible? if you're constantly pushing in the top lane from 10 to 25 minutes, what's the enemy team's perspective on this? Like, unless your entire team's on lanes showing, what's their perspective if you're shoving this lane into their tower?
I could have backup.
You could be ganking them at any point trying to team fight them, right? At any point, they are at threat. So by you 1v1ing, losing the lane shove against this troll, guess what happens? The reverse.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy's allowed to push the lane by himself, which means the enemy team could be doing anything on the map, and you actually have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important, if possible, to be able to itemize or play in a way that makes it so you push the wave. And why all these times that you've not let this wave be cut or pushed, and you've gone to this camp, like, if you can't contest the guy, instead of going to this camp, you should be blinking through the trees and cutting the next wave here. Okay. Like, this camp is never correct, like, over being here on a hero that's incredibly survivable and mobile, right? Like, that's, like, never the case. Like, just watch these other really good players and you'll see what I'm saying. So, like if you watch it with that idea in mind, it'll, like, become very clear. So, like, this fight occurs, and you guys don't know where they are because of that. It's, like, an okay place to be fighting if they grouped up as 3 or 4 and were forced to show themselves. And that's what it should take when you're this hero like Sand King, right? It should take them grouping up as 3 or 4 to push the wave, or ganking you or something. Like, that's what it should take. They shouldn't be able to have the troll walk down the lane and push it into your tower. And by allowing one person to walk down a lane and push it in is giving the enemy team so much control, so much, like, informational advantage. And so there are some games where, like, that's going to be the case, where the guy just pushes waves better than you do, right? Yeah. But in this game, that's not the case, and it shouldn't be the case. And you need to maximize as often as possible that being the case, right? So from this point on, I'm not really concerned. You have another replay that you already linked to me, so I'm going to pull that up. Do you feel like it's been, like, pretty eye-opening so far? About,
yes,
like, okay,
very much so.
Okay, because I feel like these things are very, like I said, with 4K players, it's just like what you're supposed to be doing, your role in the game is what seems to be missing. So my point is that you're not always going to make the right call, because I want general understanding of, like, the dead lane concept and, like, where to play on the map. I need you to just know what the role of each person, if you're playing that side of the map, is, and then make your best guess. And then sometimes you'll be wrong, right? And when you're wrong, you need to try to understand why. You know, like, if I said, like, if you're, like, trying to defend your own safe lane and you're thinking, I can stall their push for, like, 2 or 3 minutes, and then you just feed 3 times in a row, it's like, maybe I would have been better off doing something else. Or maybe I should have played that lane until I died once. Or, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. What hero are you in this game?
Sven.
Sven, okay. Very similar. We used him as a comparison last game. Fine with the items.
I think he's one of the few heroes you can just level stun on, right? Like,
MMR is 4.4k, guys. But what'd you say? Sorry? On Sven, I'd say you should still hold it, but you're 99% leveling your stun here. So
there's, like you said,
I might even do this myself, so I'm not going to flame this. But, like, on Sand King, like, his other abilities actually all have uses. Like, Sandstorm has a use. Caustic Finale has a use in lane, like, as a level 1 skill. So, like, you have considerations. But, like, Sven, his trading ability and stunning ability are both the same. So okay, so let's see here. Okay, so why do I have an issue with this Quelling Blade?
With the Quelling Blade?
Yeah. What does Quelling Blade help you do?
Last hit.
Okay. So what are we concerned about when we're last hitting? Like, why do we need more damage to last hit?
Because the enemy has more damage than you, so you need to out deny them or whatever, so they don't deny you.
Okay. Are you seeing what I'm seeing, or?
A lot of damage, yeah.
You have 20 damage on PA?
Okay.
So based on the heroes you're playing against, what should your first item be?
Well, that should be a stick against them.
So what does stick allow you to do?
Stain, not just sustain.
Yeah, it allows you to throw out like 4 or 5 casual stuns over the course of this lane that allow you to harass, allow you to secure CS. Like, I'm personally thinking in this lane that this creep right here should get stunned.
The ranged one?
Yeah, I would drag these creeps off of my own range, walk up to this, and the minute this PA goes for this deny, it gets stunned point blank. I'm in a spot where I'm at this creep. By the time it's dying, if PA's here also, she's getting stunned. If she's not here, I get a free creep. Do you see that?
Yep.
So, like, and then you should know that you can use stuns incredibly efficiently like this, and then you look at this lane and go, I don't need a quelling because I'm against a PA with 20 less damage than me. I need a quelling maybe eventually, but I don't need it first item, right? In that other lane, you had 51 damage as Sand King and Troll has 48. So I understand a first item quelling blade, okay? But these little things are very important. So, like, you may say Magnus has pretty high damage, but, like, honestly, if this Magnus is on top of the creep wave and you stun him twice with stick and shit, he ain't denying shit. Like, he's gonna lose the trades. He's gonna lose, so... Okay, so they have more creeps than you. This is a spot where if they have more creeps than you, what is that preventing you from doing? Why did I acknowledge that?
Yeah, because they're gonna attack me when I go on them.
Okay, so what's that preventing you from doing?
Going on them.
Okay, so what do you do when you have this many? Then they have more creeps than you.
Pull back, try to deny the range.
Hit some fucking creeps. Hit them. Hit them. Hit them. Right?
Okay.
Like make that so there's less creeps. Right? Like, what do we want? What is going on? No, I'm saying, like, what is happening in the game? What do we want to do? How do we make that a reality? That is our thought process in every situation when it comes to how many creeps there are, where the lane is, where the position of the creeps are, all these things, right?
Yeah.
Constantly asking ourselves what this feels like, right? So, like, if I'm telling you you should be able to stun them on creeps and hit them, that's not really going to benefit you if you stun them and hit them and then you're hit by 7 creeps, okay? Like, that's not going to benefit you. So fix that problem, right? Like, these are the type of, like, problem-solving mechanic, like, thought process that you have to have in the lane, right? So this is a spot where you kill this creep, you kill this one, and then hit. You see what I'm saying? Like, no hits. Where are the hits? You know what I'm saying? So, like, you should be killing these creeps. Like, all these little things I'm telling you, I assure you, watch a good offlane player after I've told you these things. Like, every time there's too many creeps, they're going to hit a bunch. You'll even see the fucking support doing it in pro matches, okay? Like, where the support knows they want to be aggressive and there's too many creeps, the support starts hitting the creeps casually. Like, it's a really good thing that once you're aware of the existence of these concepts, if you look out for them, you will see them all the time in better players, okay? Like, that's what happens to me, right? Like, I bring up the dead lane, or I bring up, like, the day I learned about creep aggro, or the day I learned about, you know, equilibrium, or when to single pull the small camp as a carry. Once I realized the intention and the purpose of those things, once I actually looked for it, it was like, holy shit, these guys do this all the time. Like, holy shit. Like, every time the lane's pushed and the carry can't farm, he's pulling the small camp. Every time. Like, wow. You know? And so it's like, when I'm bringing up these problems that you're facing in the lane, you'll notice that every time that's a problem for somebody else in a pro match, like, they're doing it. Like, they just are. Notice what's happening to you when you kill away, like, when a creep of yours dies, and, like, now you can't be aggressive because they have too many creeps. Hit. You can't be aggressive for the last 3 creep waves. Hit these damn creeps. Fuck, you know, that's that's like, if I was coaching you live, I'd literally be telling you, hit these creeps. And in certain lanes where you have no aggression potential, then it's probably best that you let the lane pull back to your tower, but you also don't want it to push too hard, right? So, because you get dove in those type of situations. But this time around, it's just preventing you from being aggressive, and PA's getting something out of a lane where I feel like even though you have a pudge, you probably still win this lane.
I hate leaning.
You haven't thrown a casual stun out this entire time, so something to note that I mentioned, like, throwing these stuns out in order to win CS as the Sand King as well as Sven here. And, like, you're gonna win these, or you're gonna do okay in these lanes, because guess what? The other guys aren't doing this either. But how about we have you be level 5 and have this PA be level 4 barely? Okay, so we get the kill. So you're against a PA mag. What source of damage do they have?
All physical.
Okay, so if you're thinking you want to be aggressive and all their stuff is all physical, what should your first real item in this lane be?
Phase.
Okay, so same idea as before, but this time around, it's not just because of the curry or anything like that. I actually think double bracer is just wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a double bracer, but what heroes on their team do you need double bracer against?
I guess Necro and Lion.
Okay, so when should we build double bracer if we're going to build it?
If we're against them in lane.
Once we start interacting with those heroes in the game, okay? Like right now, you're just like you're in this little mini game against PA Mag. So let's play the mini game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like once you build the phase and your option is to go Vlad's or double bracer, that's when you're like, what am I doing? Like, who am I interacting with at that stage in the game?
What's the goal?
Like, yeah, exactly, right? So it's like if I realize a Necro is going to start ganking, like if Necro starts ganking my lane a bunch or I'm forced to fight him a lot for whatever reason, I'm going to go double bracer. But if I'm just in this continuing mini game with the PA, I should have phase Vlad's and then maybe double bracer or maybe a Crimson, whatever, you know, like, or a Hood, whatever. I'd probably go Vlad's Hood this game. That's what I feel like I would go because Pipe is really good against their lineup. It's really nice for a Terrorblade to have a Pipe on his team. And, like, if I have, like, I don't really need raw HP items because I'm a Sven against their lineup, right? Because I have my ultimate, I'm a strength hero. So if I just make my raw HP more effective, that would probably be better this game. So I'm probably going phase Vlad's, Hood or Blink, and then Hood, Pipe, then Blink. You know, one of the semblance of these. But that's based on what's, like, happening in the game, right? Like, once I buy my Vlad's, what am I doing? Once I buy my Hood, what am I doing? Once I finish the Pipe, you know, now I go Blink. Okay, you know what I mean? Like at any one of those moments, though, you could need the Blink based on what's happening in the game, like in your other lanes, to you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but, like, the idea is I'm thinking to myself at the start of this game, I'll probably have a Vlad's, phase boots, a Pipe, and a Blink. Now it's a matter of how am I getting to that point? Like, what items are being built along the way? Or, like, in what order am I building them and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously, you're going to have a good farm because you're a Sven who, honestly, free farms pretty much every time I lane against it. No real carry, shuts you down.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty good.
Pretty easy to play, pretty straightforward offlaner to practice these concepts I'm talking to you about because his mechanical part is, like, really simple. He's also got very straightforward ways to use his stun to, like, benefit him on trades and CSing and catching people out of position. So Sven is actually a good hero to practice what I'm telling you to practice.
Yeah, this was bad. Yeah, this wasn't good. I don't die, but it still wasn't good.
Yeah, so, like, the way I look at this is you just need to be in a mindset. So, like, right now, you've kind of ruined your own game already. I hate to be honest about it, but, like, this PA should just, like, not necessarily be crushed, but she should be in a worse spot than she is. From all the things we've already said. There's nothing we can do about that at this point. Sometimes, like, in my games, I'll randomly feed, or sometimes I'll misplay the lane, and the lane looks different than it should. That just happens. It happens. So, like, but the goal is, in general, this should be better. But now, let's look at the situation we're in. We're level 6, PA's level 6. Are we drastically stronger than PA?
No.
We're stronger in general because we're a Sven at level 6 and she's a PA at level 6. But
yeah, I think I have more farm than her too.
Yeah,
probably.
but we're also just not drastically stronger, right?
Yeah.
So if we're not drastically stronger, if we're aggressive, what's that generally mean?
She's just going to get away.
She's going to get away. Maybe we're harassing her, forcing a rotation. Are we diving somebody that's the same level as us?
It shouldn't be.
With comparable farm? No, exactly, right? But that's what I'm saying is, like, when I'm doing this play, I think everything you're doing is fine. Until this.
Yeah.
Right here, right?
Yep.
We are equal level with PA, and we just forced a rotation, and Mag's going to have to go back to base.
I should just be happy.
Yes, and right, but that's preemptively considering what lane situation you're in, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is why Dota is so freaking exhausting at the highest level, because you have to constantly maintain this, like, what is going on in this game, like, status, you know what I mean, like, internally.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean by, like, I was perfectly happy with your play up until this moment right here.
Yep.
And even though
As
you
soon
get
as I saw
away,
that TP, I should have just got back.
yeah, and that's like the idea that I'm trying to reemphasize over and over again is this is something you should know before you make that aggressive play.
Yeah.
Why are you making this aggressive play? What's it meant to accomplish? You're strong enough to be aggressive, but you're not strong enough to dive them. Like, where does the line get drawn? You know what I mean? Because of how far ahead you are and all that kind of stuff. So you do go Vlad's. See, like, I don't even mind going like double bracer Vlad's or Vlad's double bracer and then hood because of the game you're in. I'm just saying, like, you definitely should have been phase first, obviously.
Yeah.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I would say double bracers, like, simply something that's delaying your other items, but it's more efficient to go in the short term. So it's something that you only get if you feel like you need it to continue that momentum against the PA or whatever hero you're against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is what I was concerned about, is Necro showing up in your lane and just being the wall. That's what I thought your interaction with him might be. That kind of makes sense, right? That he's going to show up in your lane and defend. He's a good hero at playing the dangerous farm, but he's gone, so you immediately pressure. So you're not... This is where you check other lanes. Who cares about this tower? You see all the heroes on the map. Your player... This is something I used to do all the time. I'm still working on it, but something you can hash out right now. Look at the mini-map while you're doing this, right? Because you're in a dangerous spot in regards to, like, you're underneath their tower. So if they're going on you, they could, like, that could be scary. So whenever I'm going in to push a tower, and something I always try to gauge at any point in any game, how do I die? What heroes does it take to kill me? Who needs to TP in here? What can I get away from? Etc. Pretty much all the heroes other than Lion, I'd say you can just run away from. You can literally just
It would take like
away.
Lion and
Lion
Necro,
plus
probably.
1 or 2, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe Lion Necro would be good enough. Maybe Lion plus 2 more heroes other than Necro would be good enough. And it's like, when you rewind and you're walking up to this tower, you're in 4K, dude. People are going to give you so much information that you don't deserve to get. Okay, that's why, like, making a decision as a 4K still applies, because you're making the same decision. You don't have to make as good of a decision, but you're getting more information, right? So you see this on the map. So you see Lion. I'd say without Lion, you're fine. So you see Lion, you immediately know you're safe. With that in mind, you should, like, you should, like, hit this tower with your hero after you kill these creeps, and then be looking around the map and seeing, like, okay, he's going Vanguard Hood. Okay, he's got Tranquils and don't know what else. He's got a Hood too. You know, like, we don't know where PA Mag is, but we can honestly assume where they are if they're PA Mag, right? Like, pretty obvious, honestly. They're either here farming or they're here farming. That's, like, the two choices of them. So, like, it's just important. These are the opportunities in the game where, like, usually we're so busy playing mechanically that it's hard to find opportunities to just look around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so whenever you find these opportunities to look around, it's really important. And the only reason it's bad to look around, and I still do it sometimes too, is when you do have to be on high alert. You do have to be, you know, concerned about dying. And then you look away, and then the lion is already TP'd in, and you didn't see it by the time you had to, and then you're dead, right? But when you recognize who threatens you, and then you see those heroes, that's when you're good enough to, you know, look around the map. So we're looking at your player perspective. Like, you look briefly, but you could be checking their items. You could be checking your Terrorblade's mana. You could be, you know, gauging really whether or not you're going to that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to go stop them if they're pushing. What?
What happens here? I think I get the tower denied here. I don't stun. Yeah, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh my god.
So the idea of what you're doing is correct, but obviously you know, you're already harping on yourself for things I would harp on you for. So you're playing the right way, though, right? You're pressuring this area continuously. You're pushing in the lane. Well, you're a Sven, so you have no natural mobility. So anytime Lion's missing like this, I would actually just be sitting, like, right here, waiting to see more. I think you could potentially just feed right now.
Yeah.
Based on what we see on the map, right? Are they killing you? No. But, like, if you're sitting next to these creeps with Vlad's aura on, it's going to be killing this tower. Maybe not as fast, but it's going to be killing the tower, right?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And maybe you can walk up and stun the creep wave real quick and then back off, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get as much farm, but right there, you're actually just crossing your fingers that they're not killing you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, that's actually what you're doing. So
I
it
have no
doesn't...
information.
You're basically making a more efficient play in terms of, like, because they didn't kill you, you're killing this tower faster. But it's like, think about the relevance to your team. If you're just sitting here and this tier 2 tower is dying, imagine what you can be saying to your team. Be careful mid. They're losing a tower top. Just wait till they show us something. You know what I mean? Like, wait. And then, like, you can be even ready to TP into a fight mid if it happens. And meanwhile, while you TP in mid to a fight that's happening, this tower's dying, right? Like, But I'd just be standing here. But overall, like, you're on the right part of the map. You're just not operating correctly on the information you're given.
Yep.
I think you could have pushed another wave there because you did see Lion Necro mid
Okay.
at that point. Okay, this is good. Yep, this is correct. Dead lane, PA, lol. Okay. Notice how this game we're actually... Things seem to be going right because we're playing the aggressive part of the map and they're responding to us. This is going a lot better. Overall, the way you're playing this game is way better.
Yeah.
Your Tinker... Okay, so now, what does Tinker give us?
He can clean the map up. All lanes.
Okay. He can take... Most notably, he can take a lane and then still be at fights no matter where the fights are, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, do we have anything to play for in their jungle now?
No.
No.
Well,
So, what should we do now that we've established a lead? We're against PA Mags, so these heroes that are pretty passive and want the farm. Based on your understanding of anything I've talked about, or just in general with Dota, where are they going to be playing now? The enemy team.
The enemy team? Okay,
Yes.
well, they're going to be playing around their towers. That triangle, probably.
This triangle, right? This is what happens naturally when you're losing every single game. They're going to have somebody stuck defending here. They're going to have something stuck defending mid and potentially having one farm here. But in general, their whole team's going to be here, right?
Yeah.
So what's our next maneuver as a team? We have two options. What are they?
Well, Roche. We have
Okay,
good vision
that
for
is
Roche.
one of them, absolutely. What's the other
Yeah.
option?
We could try to take that bot tier 1.
We can try to invade this. Don't think of it as taking bot tier 1. We
Okay.
think of it as taking this part of the map, okay?
They're
So,
one safe spot.
in order for this to be efficient, we either have to be pressuring this or pressuring this, right? That's ideally both, but it's not always that way. Meaning, like, they could have Bristleback pushing in this lane, and we could still be taking over this area and pressuring this tower, even though they have a Bristleback pushing in this lane, right? And the luxury of Tinker is that he enables us to do this while keeping this lane pushed in at all times. Like, that's the nice thing. So, those are our two options. So, pretty much it boils down to you and Terrorblade communicating. Why is it you and Terrorblade?
Because we're the ones who can take towers.
Yeah,
We're the
if
ones
you
who
want to
fight
Roche,
together.
it requires both of you. If you
Yeah.
want to take towers, it requires both of you. So, like, if you try to communicate and Terrorblade just does jack shit about Roche, are you taking Roche?
No.
No. So then the next question you have to ask yourself is, since we know the two options we have are Roche and invading this area, what do I need as a hero to invade this area? Okay?
Well,
Every
vision-
game is different. I'm not even asking you to make that judgment call this game, because honestly, the judgment call specifically this game is irrelevant, and it's honestly like up to personal choices. Like, meaning I feel like actually telling you what I think the exact scenario here is could mislead you. Okay? Like, that's so I'm not even gonna bother. I need you to know for yourself that if you're going to invade here, what do I think I need? How many heroes do I need to do it? Do we have to smoke? What items do I need? What do I need to see on the map? Like, meaning if I see Bristleback all the way down here, that makes it a little bit better because he's farther away from here. That kind of stuff, okay? So,
Okay, yeah.
all I'm saying is recognize your two choices and then for yourself, make the best option. So if you know your next two objectives and you're winning, that's why we need to think of our own objectives, right? Because we're winning. If we're behind, we need to consider what the opponent's objectives are and trying to prevent them from doing so, either directly by fighting them or indirectly by pressuring other lanes, right? Those are our two choices when we're behind. So if we're not going to force Roche and we're not going to force this area, what's our other option? Because we're not forcing any objectives at this point. What's the other option?
Farm, I guess?
Yeah, farm and play as efficiently as possible. So if you recognize the point where you can do that, say you have your Terrorblade in the equation, you say, with Terrorblade helping us, maybe if he gets BKB, we can do it. Or if I just have Blink, we can Blink stun and he can kill the guy.
Yeah.
But your Terrorblade's raging. Now what?
Just farming.
You're waiting until whatever the equation is without a Terrorblade in it. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying, though, right? That's how you adjust to raging, terrible teammates. I'm not saying this guy's doing that. I'm just saying that, like, make this equation in your mind of what it takes to do something, and when you have a raging teammate, rather than worrying about them, just remove them from the equation. Sometimes that results in you taking 10 more minutes of farm. And so then at that point, if you're not taking these objectives, what's the most efficient part of the map to play?
top
top, right? And you're just gonna keep
That's
doing
right.
that.
Yep.
And if your Terrorblade's farming bottom and your Tinker's farming top wave and you're farming their jungle, occasionally pushing in mid, cool. I would say if this is happening and this is happening, what's your job in regards to lanes responsibility?
Yep.
What is your lane responsibility? If
Tinker's mine?
yeah,
I guess mid.
yeah,
I
mid.
mean,
And where should it
yeah.
be?
It should be like just past the river a little ways. I don't want to go too close to the tower.
Yeah,
right?
so what's the line? Where's the line in here? Like, tell me, is it right here? Is it right here? Is it right here? Where's the line?
Right, the third one, right?
This one?
Like right where the trees are. I want to be stopping
Why is this
short
important?
of that. Well, because if I'm in there, I don't
Like,
have
what's the
any
difference
vision.
between, what's the difference between this and, like, here?
They have to go through the creeps to get to me for
Oh,
one.
for
No
one.
vision.
And
For
this
two-
if the creeps waves here, it opens up another way to invade their own jungle.
Yep.
So if you keep the lane right here, their only way of getting to you in their jungle is here. Or like through the Tinker's wave push. That's their two choices, right? And that just makes it that much easier to play. Because if you know their only choices are to do one or two things, you can easily read what they're doing at any time. But if the lane's right here at your tower, they could be doing this and roshing. They could be doing this and ganking you. Like, if you let this lane push in, that's when teams do these like random comeback roshes and stuff. Because you don't have the necessary information to know they're not roshing. Because like PA Mag's probably going to be playing off map if you're not invading this area. So you have no idea where they are. So they could be, if you have the lane into here, they're never roshing, right?
Yeah.
Ever. Because your rotation is like this to here and then back to here. Where are they roshing? How are they roshing?
Yeah, they have to go.
They
through
literally have to
me get
walk
to it.
through you to get to
Yeah.
Roche. So, like, that's what I mean by, like, draw that line, okay? And what the point is, have the fucking line in your mind. You may be wrong, but learn from it. But as long as you're thinking about the fact that there is a line that you're allowed to cross or that they're not allowed to cross, and you said, I can't be at their tier 2. That's also important. Like, don't be over-aggressive about that, right? In certain games, though, you can be behind their tier 2. Mid 1 is incredible at that, by the way. Like, Mid 1 is the best player at this I've ever seen. Like, his ability to recognize... Like, I was playing pubs with him in EU, and, like, there's just games where he's, like, behind our tier 2 at, like, 7 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, there's actually nothing we can do about this. Like, when I'm like, realizing, I'm like, this seems so strange, but there's actually nothing we can do. And there's just some games where it's like, all you have to do, it's like, I don't need you to be, like, recognizing the specific spots where you can be behind the tier 2. I just need you to think, if I go here... what can they do? If I go even further, what can they do? Like, what is their play? And if you can't imagine a play, then do it. And if they make a play that surprises you, then you'll learn from it, right? Like, that's the point, though. Like, is really establish that line. Think about the game that way. And it'll just make your decision-making so much more straightforward. So this is their only play. And this is why I don't like doing what you guys are doing. I think a big problem is that Terrorblade needs to leave bottom. Or you guys need to go to bottom. That's your two choices, I think. And the problem is Tinker stopped pushing top. And let me see how this fight actually broke out. I'm actually curious. I need to see. I need to give you more than just saying I don't like this. So let me see this here. Let me see what I... So you farmed an ancient stack. On the map, Necro's dead. I was busy talking about other stuff. Mag's here. Okay, what does this fight accomplish for you guys?
Nothing.
Okay, so when you see this mag TP in, what should you do?
Just run.
Just walk away, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the problem is, like, earlier when I said, what are we trying to do? We're just going to force rotations. We're not strong enough to dive this PA, and then you end up trying to dive her, but that's preemptive. Are you forcing any objectives here? Like we said, your choices are to force an objective here, here, or just chill. So when you force rotations, just chill. Right? Like, oh, we forced them into their own jungle. Back off. Maybe we can go bottom now to force an objective. I would even say your best play would be to run mid, shove it really quick, and then run to bottom. Why bottom at this current moment?
They all used all their TPs to go up there, so they're going to have to walk down there to meet, and we can push the tower, and it'll take them time to respond.
Why bottom, though?
Why bottom?
If
Well,
they just
it's-
TP top, and there's an objective in the tower, but also what?
Well, there's the triangle we can invade.
I'm mousing over a nice...
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a 20-minute rune.
Okay,
Makes sense.
so you're running bottom, you're pushing in this wave, and you're running bottom to pick up this rune in the tower, right?
Yep.
Those are two objectives you get by going bottom. It's an efficient rotation, right? So that's like something to consider. But you take a fight that has no purpose, you die. It's like one of those things where that fight could go right, but like there's just no reason, right? Like there's just nothing to gain from doing it. Like you'll get some kills, but that's it. And when you're ahead, it's always better for the team that's behind to take these random ass fights that do nothing.
This is me trying to kill a bristleback for some reason.
So what did we say needed to happen if we're ahead in a game? According to the dead lane concept, what needs to happen? How much of the map are we controlling?
Right now?
When we're ahead, according to the dead lane, how much of the map are we controlling?
Well, one half. We control the top half, right? If we're winning.
How many lanes are we controlling?
2.
Okay. So, at the current moment, is bottom lane controlled by us?
No.
No. Is top lane controlled by us?
Yes.
Is mid lane controlled by us?
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. This is not control.
Yeah, true.
If you take a fight bottom, what's mid lane going to look like in 20 seconds?
It's going to be pushed out.
Into our tower. Right?
Yep.
So we are winning the game, and we are giving up control to a PA mag of mid lane. You are not allowed to do this when this is happening. You are allowing a level 9 5-position mag to farm his blink in the most dangerous lane in the game while they're down by 2k with a PA mag.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Like, this is if we manage to push mid lane in here and shove this guy out of here, sure, maybe we can go fuck with this bristle, okay? If your Tinker is supposed to be doing this and he's not, guess who's doing it?
It should be me.
It's you. It's somebody, right? Like, and you're meaning that your hero is capable of fixing this, so do it, right? And that's why I always tell people in these games, like, if you want to have the most control in your pubs, pick a hero that can pressure and shove lanes. Because that's what, like, the biggest problem is. People are just so content without shoving lanes. Like, they're just so content doing this random-ass shit on the map. Like, this is trash. What the fuck is going on? Like, look at the map, right? Like, you have a 5-position farming this, great. That's actually fine. It's like, if you have a 5-position push this in, or 4 or whatever, and then you push this in as well, the fight down here is great, because this lane's controlled by your own 5 who can TP, and then bottom lane, you have 2 cores already there, and then the other 2 lanes are pushed in. Fights are only good based on what's happening on the rest of the map. Why the fuck does this guy have max reflection? Oh, well, so moving on. This is the problem, and it's always based on lanes, whether or not fights are good. Like, fights naturally take 30 seconds to a minute, so look at mid lane while this fight's going on.
Yep.
It's painful.
Pushing in.
You want them to be like, holy shit, top tier 3's taking damage, mid tier 2's taking damage, somebody's gotta leave. And then you guys are just like casually waiting, chasing them, trying to cancel TPs. You don't feel rushed at all, right? Because you're just like watching your lanes kill their towers. And like, you're just like waiting for them to separate, and then you're gonna kill them. Or you'll just take bottom tower off of it, right? Because they separated. But without forcing reactions elsewhere, you're just fighting 4 of them while losing mid tower when you're winning. Okay, so... So Tinker should be taking top farm. You should push in another wave mid there for obvious reasons that we just talked about.
Yep.
Notice how big of a deal this mid wave is. Like, if it just gets shoved really quick, like you stun it and leave. You don't even have to push it, meaning like you don't have to farm it. You just have to stun it and leave. It would have taken you an extra 1 second or 2 because you left at like 23:12 or something, like, which is when the creep's going to be there in 3 seconds. Okay, so you're here, we get these kills, but meanwhile the other lanes are not being pushed, as you see. So despite this, it would have been way better if mid lane's pushed in. The fight itself is fine, but just think about the relevance of other lanes to it. But we don't mind top, right? How many lanes are we controlling?
Right now we're controlling 2.
Like,
right
if we pushed in mid, how many lanes are we controlling?
We'd be controlling 2.
2, right? So you don't care about top, right? And the reason why the dead lane's almost always one of the side lanes is because proximity. That's all there is to it, right? Proximity. Like, this lane's closer to this one. So if we want to control this lane, we'll include the mid lane too. You know what I mean? Okay, so... Let's see here. Same thing again with mid lane. This is giving me an aneurysm. It's not just your fault, but it's something you can address as a hero.
Yeah.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
In almost every game, the indication of who's winning is where the mid lane is. In a high-level game, okay? Meaning, in a game where people are playing properly, the winning team will have mid lane shoved in. Please keep that in mind. Meaning that if you're winning, that mid lane needs to be fucking shoved in. If you're behind and the enemy team's allowing you to push that mid lane, lol, okay? And do it, okay? Like, it's super important. I can't even emphasize. I gave you one about, like, the sneak rosh and all that kind of shit. I can't emphasize all the reasons why mid lane is so important, okay? So, like, I can just tell you it's important, and we'll worry about it once you start doing it if you come back again, you know? So, okay, let's see here. First step, though, is to realize it is important and to push it at all times. So, this is good. You guys end up winning this game?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Overall, this looks pretty good. I think we're about wrapped up with the session. Do you have any questions about what I've talked about this entire time?
Nope.
Or any questions about something I have not talked about this entire time?
No. No, I'm good.
Sure? That's what...
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I feel like you have a lot... I'm just going to do a brief rehash. We talked about the reasons why you do things in lane, such as creep equilibrium, creep aggro, aggression with your stuns. Like, having a purpose for what you're doing will give you a clear-cut reason to have purpose for your stun usage. You know what I mean? Because like it just felt like you were being super passive with your stuns, and it's because you're not doing the other things that allow you to be aggressive with your stuns. Having the emphasis of understanding where your job is in the game, of pushing lanes. If your Terrorblades is any good, he'd probably have left bottom and like push top with you, so maybe you don't have to do that, but just know the job has to be done. That affects your itemization, that affects the way you're playing the map. Think about what two lanes you're trying to control if you're ahead. If you're behind, think about counterplaying their objectives, like in the Sand King game. Think about what your next objective is and think about what it takes to get there. If the rest of your team's not working with you to get it done, since you're an offlaner, that's usually going to have to happen, meaning like they'll have to work with you. Then deem what point in the game you can do it without them helping, or, you know, whatever. Any other things I missed? I don't think so, but
I don't think so.
Cool. Thanks for tell your friend thanks again. I appreciate, it was a very nice present of him, and I hope you enjoyed the session, and I look forward to hearing any progress you make, man, because sounds like you're attentive and we're understanding. So good session, man. I appreciate it, and have a good one.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my god!
19 months and still counting. Best
where
streamer
to
currently
play
is
map.
Chess Rocks D.
Where